Hi folks, Johnny Matthew here. This is a little brief video that we're making in order to help you guys to draw up family trees, which you might find useful for the case formulation meetings as part of the enhanced case management project, or indeed anywhere else where a family tree might be useful. So the first stage is to open a blank tab in your browser and to type the words Lucidchart into there and return that, and you will end up with a page that looks like this, and you'll see the free sign up here. If you click that, it will take you through and you can sign up for a Lucidchart account. It's free, it won't cost you anything, and you can explore the program for nothing. And once that's done, it will take you to a kind of home page like this with your name at the top right hand corner. This page is largely blanked out because it lists all my Lucidchart documents in there, and obviously we need to keep those confidential. So once you're at this stage, you'll see this orange plus document button here. If you just give that a single click, it will open you a blank document, and this is the page we're going to use to draw up our family tree using all these various shapes and containers on the left hand side. So the first thing that we need to do is name the file so that Lucidchart can save it for us as we go along. And if you look at the top left, it says blank flowchart, and just underneath it the words new page. That's because inside each family document you can have several pages if you want to. We only need the one, so we're going to click on blank flowchart. That throws up this box, and we'll call it family X for want of a better name at this stage. Click OK, and there we are. Family X has appeared in the top left hand corner. So this is our blank sheet. You can see it's got grid lines on it which make it helpful for drawing on the page. First job I tend to do with a new document is change the orientation of the page. Family trees tend to look a lot better in landscape mode than they do in this kind of longer, thinner portrait mode. So if we come up to the File menu, click that, come down to Page Setup, click on that, and it opens this little box here. You'll see Orientation is currently set to Portrait. We need to click this little circle to the left of the word landscape, and that changes the orientation, and then we can just close that box, and there we have our page is ready to go. Okay, on the left hand side of the page you'll see the various containers that we need. There's text here, there are shapes here, there are some slightly more detailed containers down here, and some more standard shapes and arrows and things at the bottom. And essentially the way Lucidchart works is that you single click on any one of these items and you drag it across onto the page. So come across here, let's say to this circle. If you hover over any of the shapes, the preview pane opens on the right hand side there and shows you what it will look like on the page. So let's click on the circle, drag that across. See, this is a family tree, so we'll stick to the convention of circles and rectangles for females and males respectively. So let's have these parents, let's say they've got a few kids, so let's drag them across. Now what you'll see is that the circles are smaller than the squares. That's just a convention in Lucidchart. Different items are scaled differently. If we want to change the size of the circle or any shape, we just need to single click on it, and as you see, these blue squares will appear around the outside edge. They are handles, and if you hover your cursor over it, the cursor will turn to a bold double arrow like that, and if you hold your mouse, click and hold your mouse, you can drag that across until it's the same size, or the size that you want it to be. And you can see the program automatically throws up these blue guidelines which give an indication of proximity of different shapes and the spaces between and all the rest of it. So you know now that that circle is the same height as the rectangle next to it. So there we go. So let's resize these. So single click to bring the double squares, and then drag single click, and then drag, and there we have it. So we have here a mum and a dad. So let's change the labels. So if we double click or hover over with the mouse, double click on the text, it will be highlighted, and we can pop dad in there, click off, and then single click on this one, or just a straightforward double click on the A on the text will highlight it. We can put mum in there, and we can spread these out. If you want to move any shape, hover the mouse over it, and when the cursor turns from an arrow into a thick cross shape like that, that means the shape is ready and able to be moved around. So let's space the kids out a little bit down here so that we can get the thing neat and tidy. There we go. Now then, we need to indicate the relationships between these people. So we need a line from mum to dad to indicate that they were a partnership or are a partnership. And the way we do that is we hover, don't click at this stage, but hover the cursor over the shape, and you'll see these little 4 orange circles appear around the edge. What we want to do is hover over one of those until this thick black cross turns into a thin one. As soon as it turns into a thin one, the circle will be full of colour, orange in this case, and we can click the mouse and drag it across, and when it reaches the same little circle on Dad's container there, you will see that the circle has gone orange again. That means the line has reached the right place, and we can unclick the mouse, and there we have it. We have our line. Now, if we want to change this line at all, just like if you want to do anything with these, we do a single click on them. It's the same convention for the line. Single click, the blue highlight means it's active and we can change it. Now, we don't want the arrow on the end, so if we come up here, you can see that there's a series of options here, and next to it, there's another series here. So there's these, and these are the right hand and left hand end of the line accordingly, and you can see there's nothing at the left hand end of the arrow here, but there's an arrowhead at the right hand end. That's why there's an arrowhead shown in the right hand of these 2 boxes. So we just need to click the arrow at the side, select none, and that's what will happen. But in order to do that, we need to click the line first. Once the line is highlighted, then we can make the changes we need to make there, and you can see the arrowhead has disappeared. So to illustrate that again, a single click on the line, and if we want to, let's say we want to put an arrowhead of a different kind on the left hand end of the arrow, we can do that, and there it is. But because this is a family tree, we don't need that. Single click to highlight, up here, click none, and the arrowhead is gone. So mum and dad are now joined. Now what we need to do next is link this group of siblings together. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line across the page in between mum and dad to join up this sibling group. Now, if we're drawing a line freehand like that, the way to do it is to click L for line on the keyboard. So just a single click of L, and you'll see that this cursor will change to a cross. So here we go, L, and the cursor has changed to a cross. So if we put that cursor where we want it on the grid line, so the more carefully you place it, the easier it is to draw straight lines that look neat and tidy. Single click, hold it down, draw the line across. Now you'll recognize that I've stopped the line just above the circle. This circle here, I've stopped the line above it there because that's where I'm going to draw the connecting line going down from it. So if I unclick, that line is now selected, and if I click off it, it's in the right place. Okay, so let me just delete that and show you that once again. If you want to delete anything, single click till it's highlighted in blue, then push the delete button. So remember, to draw a line freehand, we click a single click of the L on the keyboard, turns our cursor into a little fine cross. We place that on the grid lines, click and hold the mouse down, draw the line across to where we want it to end, unclick the mouse, and there's our line. Now, we repeat that process, except we do it the same way as we did with mum and dad here, where we join 2 objects. So because we're starting from this object here, we hover over the little circle till it turns into a fine cross. So the thick cross turns to a fine cross, and then we draw the line up there to the right place, unclick. And we do the same here. The thick cross turns into a fine cross, draw the line up, and the same here. Thick cross. Oh, now we need to move that over that way a bit, don't we? Thick cross, hover rather than click. Sorry, I clicked. If you click, it highlights it. If you hover, it throws up the handles that we want for the line. So thick cross becomes a thin cross. Draw the line up to there, and then click off, and there we have it. So the sibling group is now joined. All that remains to do is to join mum and dad's group down here to complete the family diagram. So again, a single click of the L on the keyboard will change our cursor into a fine cross, place it on the line exactly where we want the line to start, click down till it meets the line, unclick, and then click off, and there we have it. So the family group is complete, and we could add more siblings and extend lines and things. If you wanted to select the line, you can use this handle to drag it across, and it will alter the diagram accordingly. So it's actually better to delete and redraw the line in that kind of situation. Okay, if we now needed to add some text to this, maybe to clarify a few things, we can do that. So let's imagine that Dad now lives in London. Mum and Dad are separated, and Dad now lives in London. So the way we'd indicate the separation would be drawing a line diagonally to Mum and Dad's joining line here. So again, a single click of L, put it where we want on the grid, draw a diagonal line across till we get it to where we want it, unclick, and there's our line. It indicates that Mum and Dad are no longer together. And let's say we want to add some text to clarify that. And in the top right left-hand corner of the containers, right at the top here, you'll see there's a T, which is for text. So click on it, drag it across, and then unclick when it gets to when it's in the right place where we want it to be, unclick. And when you unclick, it will automatically be highlighted. If you happen to click off it and you want to change the text, just double click on the text itself and it will select it and highlight it. And then we can put in that Mum and Dad were separated in 2003, and we could move that around if there was a better place to put that over here underneath. Obviously not as clear in this case, so we'll leave it where it is, but it's the same protocol that applies for anything. A single click will highlight it, and then if you click again and hold it down, the object can be moved. So just to go through adding text again, come up to the T for text here, click and hold the mouse, drag the text box across here, and let's say that Dad now lives away. We can add lives in London, and adjust that to where we want it to go. In fact, let's put that in lowercase. Lives in London, and let's put it under his name, under his box there, so that we can show you something else here. Let's imagine that the kids are called Jimmy, and because Mum and Dad don't have much imagination, Jenny and Jane. Let's imagine that Dad and Jimmy no longer have much contact, and we want to indicate that. So we could draw a line from Dad to Jimmy, not a relational line like these, a solid line. Let's say we want to draw a dotted line just to indicate that. So the protocol for lines, as you'll recall, is hover over the shape, and when we hover over the little circle at the edge, the thick bold cross will turn to a thin one. We click and then drag to the handle on Jimmy. The program will automatically alter the shape of the line, and then unclick. And what we might want to do in this instance is have an arrow on the end, but because we don't want it to be a relationship line, it's just indicating a particular fact. Let's make it a dotted line, and then we could add some text to that. Single click on the T for text, bring that across, And maybe we could say that they have monthly contact. So again, it's just a way of indicating useful information that is clear at a glance. Now then, one of the great features of Lucidchart is that we can actually move the whole diagram if we want to. So we can move individual items, but that gets complicated if we want to move the whole chart. So the way we do that is if we imagine that this family tree has a box around it and we put the cursor at one corner, click and hold the mouse and then drag the cursor over the diagram, the program draws a square around it, and then when we release the mouse it selects the whole everything within the square. Then if we hover our cursor over it, when we see the big dark bold cross appear, there it is, so it goes from an arrow to a bold cross, we know we can click and hold and we can move the whole diagram. And you'll see as we move it towards the centre of the page, this blue line running down the middle of the page indicates that the diagram is, or the box with the diagram in it, is now central on the page. And again, it's useful for spacing things out. So that's our diagram finished. Now, in terms of using this as a prep for case formulation meetings, what I tend to do is to draw some lists at the bottom. So single click on our text, drag it down to the bottom here, and I might put in there something like significant events, and just use this as if it were a Word document. So we want to align the text to the left. Perhaps I want to bullet point the text just to make it clear. And this, one of the significant events we know is that parents separated in 2003. Maybe maternal grandmother died in 2007, or whatever it might be. And again, just if you double click or triple click any text, it will select or highlight it, and you can just use the bold and underline in the normal way. So there we have a text box with some information, and if we hover over it, have a single click, we can hold the mouse down and drag it around. We can change shape in the normal way, that if we select the text box and use the blue ones, that allows us to change the shape and the width of the text box. When it's selected like that, if we want to copy that, we can do. So you can use Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac, then click off it. Click Control V or Command V to paste the copy back onto the page, and there we have an identical box. And what I tend to do is just to use that as an easy way of repeating these boxes for different things. So if I want to keep a list of a young person's offences, for instance, I might say that there was a burglary in September 2015, and that there was a taking without consent in January 2015, and just as you would in a normal word processor, if you want to align that to the left, just highlight it. If you want to add bullets, just add those at the top there. And what I tend to do is have repeated numbers of these same text boxes across the bottom of the sheet. I usually have one for significant events, one for offences, one for health, if there are particular health things that have gone on and families have particularly had a difficult time with health. That's useful. I also have one for the different professionals that are involved, and usually one for different placements that the young person has lived at. And then I also usually have one that I put at the top of the page up here that I call strengths. And I just put things in there that are indicated in the documents that are positive. So maybe the young person has played football for the same team for a number of years, or has a particularly good relationship with one of his friends or with a relative. I might indicate that. If he's got aspirations for the future around different things, that might be something I put in the strengths box. So what we end up with is a single A4 page document with a family tree and bullet point information about the young person, which acts as a really good summary and sounding board for or starting place really, for the beginning of the case formulation meeting. So I would print those off, have them available at the outset of the meeting so everybody starts on the same page, and then we would draw up the timeline from there and have that more involved discussion. And one of the things sometimes that I will have a different text box for at the bottom here would be questions that have come up for me in preparing for the meeting. So there may be a question about the nature of the parental relationship around the time that the child was born. There may be questions around a particular bereavement that the family have experienced, or how the young person has got on in different education or placement settings, and so on. So any questions are also useful to list. So there you have it. The only thing that remains to do is to save that document in a way that might be useful to attach it to an email or save it to a file on a different computer system, or to print it out. In which case, Lucidchart will automatically save the file within itself, so you can always go back to the document. But if you want to send the document, print it, or save it to another program, what we need to do is come up to the File menu here in the top left. Click File, come down to Download As, click that, and then ensure that the PDF button is tagged at the top. PNG and JPEGs and so on are photograph or image format files. PDF is the best one for saving or for printing. If you have a number of pages open across here for the family and you want them all printing, you can have document checked. In this case, we've only got one page open, so we can either leave it as document or we could select the current page. And if we had a number of pages open and only wanted to print one of them, we would click that page and then just select current page down here. And then click Download, and you'll see at the bottom left-hand end of the screen, the big arrow will appear to say that it's now downloaded. And if I click on that, I can open it, save it to my computer wherever I want, or append it to an email, or print it out. So there we go. That's the Google application Lucidchart. I highly recommend you sign up for a free account and give it a go. The Pro version, which I use a lot, is not expensive and absolutely well worth it. So I hope you find that useful. If you need more detailed information, you can go to the Lucidchart page itself. Just put lucidchart.com, and there are lots of help sections, support sections, and there are even one or two video tours there as well that you can use for more information. So there we go, Lucidchart. Hope you enjoy it and find it useful. Cheers.